I was a VP of development. I was making $95K a year. On paper, I was very successful human, but I was so broke. I was so in debt. I was doom scrolling on Twitter one night. My wife's asleep in a rental. I got 2 babies upstairs asleep. I'm just staring at credit card statements. I was like, I don't want to look at this anymore. So the reason I am sitting in front of you today, running a multi-million-dollar business, is because I was obsessed not to make money, but to become the person that makes money and to find the answers that people had.
All right, Clifton, you're one of my favorite people on social media. You've got hundreds of thousands of followers. You've started multiple businesses. You have a business this year. It's going to do $2 to $3 million top line, healthy margins. You and I know each other really well. Here's my question for you, though. Why was it so easy for you?
Huh. Easy, huh?
No, I say that tongue in cheek because you have,
yeah, absolutely.
You have a post that you post, somewhat frequently that talks about your background. And dude, I just think your story is incredible.
I think easy is the most relative term in the world. It's really easy for people to sit on the couch, look at a guy like me and say, man, it was just so easy. Especially from somebody that I wasn't brought up. It's not like I have a background in content marketing or agency. I didn't come up in Silicon Valley, or I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. I was raised in Level Plains, Alabama. My dad was 10th grade dropout that worked a blue collar job. If you want to go down that rabbit hole of easy, I think easy comes on the back end of obsession. I think all the greats, the people that win in business and life, insert anything you want to win, I think it's on the other side of obsession. And obsession gets such a bad rap in our society. I've gotten told I've lost friends over the last 3 years, man. The people that have stuck by me are my wife and children. They never wavered. A few close friends, my dad stuck by me. But a lot of people thought I was nuts. I mean, what are you going to do? I went to college. I got 3 degrees.
3 degrees? You couldn't stop at one.
I have a doctorate, for God's sakes. I mean, that's in the garage right now.
What was your doctorate in?
Organizational leadership.
You went to school, you got 3 degrees, a doctorate, organizational leadership, and now you're messing around on Twitter. Obviously, I say that tongue in cheek, but like to the outside world, that's what they're thinking, right? They're like, whoa, wait a second. Your dad dropped out of high school at the 10th grade. You got a doctorate, and now you're posting on social media? What's going on here? Like, talk about that. How did you even get into it? What was that transition like?
There's a couple of reasons I got into it. Number one, I was broke. I was so broke. I was so in debt, and I was doom scrolling on my couch on Twitter one night. My wife's asleep in a rental. I got 2 babies upstairs asleep. I'm just like staring at credit card statements. I was like, I don't want to look at this anymore. So I pull up Twitter. I'm scrolling.
What was your job at the time?
I was a VP of development. I was making $95K a year. I mean, on paper, I was very successful human. I mean, but I had gotten myself into a hole like most people do in middle class. I had a couple car loans. I made some purchases I shouldn't have made from a consumer standpoint. And then a big thing was I wanted my wife to be a stay-at-home mom. And we made that decision when 2 kids and life on a $95K a year salary, no matter where you're at, is hard. You know, when we made that decision, I was only making $50K a year. And so I was just supplementing with credit cards at the time.
But by all standards, objectively, you're like, we made this decision. She's going to stay at home. I'm making 50 grand a year. Fast forward a few years later, you're now making 95 grand a year. And you're like, I'm almost making double the income. Why am I still drowning?
I mean, just drowning, just feeling terrible. I mean, feeling like I'm playing catch up. And what I tell people is like, I looked at the people that were at the top of the field 10, 20 years around me. And I was like, they're not making much more than me. I mean, they're making 120, 140K. It's not that big of a gap. So I'm like, man, my earning potential over the next 10, 20 years is low relative. And then their lifestyle is like, they're taking 1 vacation a year. If they're lucky, they're not in the greatest health. I'm commuting 2 hours a day at this point. I mean, it's just insane. Right. And so I'm doom scrolling. I see this guy on Twitter. He's like, I make $1,000 a week online. And I'm like, well, what is this guy? I'm like, this is ridiculous. I make $4,000 a month after taxes or something, like not even that much more, right? And I bought this $29 Gumroad course, man. Yeah, the first thing I ever bought was a $29 Gumroad course, and it was a Word document. It was a Word document.
It wasn't even a course. It was just a Word document.
It was a Word document. It was like set up profile, pick profile picture, write bio.
Wait. So he's like, I make $1,000 a week online, and
Yeah.
this is my course to do that? Or like, how did you get
Oh
to the
yeah,
course?
man. That's the underbelly of this is why people don't this is like the dirty this is why people don't want to be online. It's like a phase thing here, right? You start and you're like, everybody's a scam. It's a multi-level marketing scheme. Clifton's at the top now, and he's got all these like people selling his crap. This is what's kept me out of courses for so long. I don't want to be associated with
A
like
huckster.
money Twitter or like this or that. And I started in that world, right? I started when I first started, people told me like, oh, you can make $1,000 a week by selling my stuff. And I'm like, heck yeah, this is going to be awesome. Man, that stinks. I was ripping guides and selling them. I was making
Wait, what were you selling?
$200.
I have to know. What were you selling?
Courses to sell stuff. I mean, I don't know. Like I was selling guides on Gumroad, and I still wasn't making money because like I was putting so much time in that the money I made I was still losing money on my time. Right. And so I tried affiliate marketing, e-commerce, eBay drop shipping, all these different ways that like when you get online, this is why people burn out. This is why people burn out. And I didn't have any money. I couldn't buy inventory for eBay drop shipping business.
You're describing it's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
On the one hand, there are people out like you're a hustler. You're more like my best friend, Chris Kerner. He's a natural born hustler. He's just like everyday scheming. It's like, okay, what can I do to make a buck? And I think that many entrepreneurs are like that. But then there's me on sort of the other end of the spectrum, which is more like, yeah, I'm not going to be a hustler, like find something for $2 and sell it for $3. I'm going to take my time and I'm going to plan it out and I'm going to figure it out. And like, there's pros and cons to both sides, but there's a lot of people who are like you that are they're trying to figure it out. I want to make more money. I want to have control of my time. How do I make this work? And like you said, on social media, there's lots of people who are like, I can show you how to do that. You can make $100,000 in a weekend if you just put $4 in. I promise you, it's a guaranteed, and then they pay $30 that they don't have and get scammed. But many times that's the price of tuition, in my opinion, for those people who are hustlers. It's like they have to pay that price in order to kind of make it to the next level. Did you look at it like that at the time? Or were you like, man, I got all these bills and I just freaking wasted money on this course?
Yeah. Ignorance tax. Ignorance tax, my friend. I think people ask me why I kept going. Because I spent 8 months down that rabbit hole. And my wife's looking at me, and she's an angel descended from heaven. I mean, she's looking at me and
That's awesome.
She's watching me like, she's like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know. But I see people winning. Like there's people out there winning. And I say this at that time, and I say this now to my team. I mean, I'm managing almost 20 people now, right? And when people come to me with a problem, they're like, this is a problem. Like we can't figure it out. I'm like, there are people that have figured out this problem. You just don't have the answer. It's not an unsolvable problem. It's just that you don't have the knowledge, the resources. You just haven't figured it out. So take that out of your mind. It's not an unsolvable problem. It's just we need to find A, the person to solve it, or B, the information in which we need to solve it. That's where I was. I literally put everything on the table and I said, I will not stop. And I tell like the reason I am sitting in front of you today, running a multi-million-dollar business is because I was obsessed not to make money, but to become the person that makes money and to find the answers that people had. And I'm dumb, man. I'm dumb.
Hey, I don't know if you remember this, but when we started this podcast, we entered into a social contract. I would spend time, energy, and money producing this podcast, interviewing these individuals and giving you insights into how to build, buy, start, grow your business. And you would like, subscribe, and leave me a 5-star review. Now, out of that, we both get to talk to really cool people and hear really cool insights. We both get a ton of value. But I just want to help you keep your word. So would you do me a favor? Will you go leave a 5-star review for me on Apple or Spotify? It would really help. And if you want, even share this with a friend. Your PhD in organizational leadership would say otherwise, but
PhDs are education is a test of endurance. That's all it is.
well, which is interesting actually, because you showed you had endurance there and you showed you had endurance now, right? Like this hasn't been an easy road for you to make the transition. There's one thing though that I want to hit on where in social media, it's very obvious that there are these like schemes. They can prey on people who are just looking and trying to better themselves, but it's not unique to social media, right? There's multi-level marketing schemes in the real world. There's all kinds of schemes that you get sold on. You get locked into a car that you didn't want to get to because the salesman at the car dealership, sweet talk to you to a certain point, or you get locked into a phone or a health plan or whatever. You get insurance on that device that you bought at Best Buy that you didn't really want, but they sold you on it. You know what I mean? So like there's always this ignorance tax. It's just so obvious on social media. But the flip side is there are actual people who are looking for that will still better themselves from it. Like there still is a value that comes from taking the course or learning some education, which is you. And I think the differentiator is what you just said. It's the endurance game. Can you hold endurance? So how did you, 8 months, my wife would have been like, we're done. 8 months? Like, what are we doing here, Clifton? How did you navigate 8 months of just like figuring it out?
There was a stopping point. At January of 22, I said, this isn't working. And I looked at my wife. I was like, I have a lot of knowledge. I'm further ahead than when I started, but I still am not making money.
How far in was this?
This was almost 8 months in because I started in August. So
Okay, cool.
January. I still use this framework. I started reaching out to people that were ahead of me. And I said, hey, man, can I jump on a call with you? They're like, yeah. So I reached out to a couple people that had larger audiences than me, that were making more money than me. And I said, tell me what you're doing. And they said, you should just focus on growing your account. Just focus on writing. And I was like, okay. So I did that. And I started writing a thread every day. And now this is when threads weren't popular. Like now everybody writes threads, right? So I was very early into I had people tell me I was crazy. I had people tell me that I was going to burn out my audience because I wrote threads every day. I had people tell me that I was botting my account because my account was growing so fast. In March of 2022, I grew 40,000 followers in a month on Twitter.
Jeez Louise.
I had a 10,000 follower day.
That's insane.
At that point, Nick, I realized that I loved writing and positioning, branding, all this stuff. So then this is when what I tell people, if you don't learn a skill, you will sell for others for the rest of your life or work for others for the rest of your life or anything, right? And I'm a salesman by trade. Like I love sales. It's my favorite thing in the entire world. I love sales. It gives me energy when most people hate it. I want to be on sales calls. It's all I want to do every day. So I had the skill. I'm like, okay, I can write, I can grow Twitter accounts. Boom. Nobody knows who I am. So I started reaching out to other ghostwriting agencies. This is when those were kind of coming up, personal brand management, all this stuff. And I said, hey, I want to work for you. Hire me. And I was like, I just got to make some money. And this guy took a chance on me, hired me. And I started writing hundreds of long form pieces of content per month for this other agency. And I finally started making money.
Hundreds?
Hundreds.
And this is while you're working your full-time job, right?
Oh yeah. I didn't quit my full-time job until April of 23.
I'm going to back up just a little bit. So in January, you're like, honey, I don't think this is working. And at that point you said, I'm going to actually reach out to some people who are ahead of me that can give me some advice.
Yep.
I think that's an amazing framework. Have you always been like that?
Or done it every time. Every time really? I couldn't make money, I reached people. When I started writing for that guy, he couldn't keep up with how much money I wanted to make. He told me to start my own agency. He was ahead of me. He taught me how to start my own agency. When I started my own agency, I struggled with sales. I paid a guy $10K to teach me sales. When I hit sales, I started signing a bunch of people, and then I struggled with operations. I reached out to a guy, got help with operations, eventually brought on my COO, Brett, who's been heading up operations for us for over 2 years. And then was my graduation for money Twitter. And this is what I tell people. It's like, if you want to be a real business, you have to be a real business. If you go to my website right now, there's nothing about it that says I'm on Money Twitter. It looks like a reputable Fortune 500 like partnered agency.
What's the website?
Legacybuilder.co. You go to that website right now, you're like, oh man, this is a legit content agency. Like this is somebody I want to work with, right? And I did that. And so I started reaching out to real business owners, right?
Ooh.
I started saying like, hey, what does that look like? Well, like how are you differentiating? And it actually is a really boring thing, man. It's like, well, I mean, because in money Twitter, or when you're first starting out in business, especially these young guys, you get taught to sell these egregious offers, right? It's like, I'm going to grow your business in 30 days, or you get your money back, or I'm going to come to your house and clean it for the rest of my life. And there's like, it's just insane, right? And that's how you have to start, because nobody knows. So you need a risk reversal. You need something to like get people in. But one day I woke up and I said, whoa, wait a second. I'm really good at this. I have nothing to prove to anybody. I should start acting like that. And so I went through an exercise with Scott Baer at Lunar Studios. He built this website that you have pulled up right here. And we went through like, what's our unique value prop? What makes us a business? Why would 5 million, 10 million, $100 million businesses want to work with us? And we mapped that out. Another situation where I didn't know how to position myself. So I reached out to somebody who knew how to do that. And
Dude,
the day I launched this website, Nick, we went from within a quarter, we were making 100K plus a month just from repositioning ourselves into this.
I mean, look at this sexy beast here.
Yeah, I love
this. This is a good looking website, man.
Yeah.
300 clients served, 100,000 posts published, 50 million impressions. Here's our value prop.
Value prop.
Perfect. Yeah.
We got
actual results.
There's the CEO of Mighty Networks.
Oh, dang.
Ben Billups.
She's legit.
He just
Ben Billups is legit.
Then you got kind of the, what are you going to get when you work with us here? You
Content
get a full
strategies,
content team when you work with us. Simple process, so that's framing for the sales call right there. It's also like more testimonials from people. That's me and Brett. A little letter from us.
Look at these. Look at these freaking. Is any of this AI?
Do you think that picture of me is AI?
It's not. But Brett, I'm like,
it is.
Oh, okay. It is.
I worked with this guy. I think it's called Headshot Pro or something. Another Twitter story. So one night it was like 11:30 at night, and I wanted this like super clean AI picture of me. So I downloaded and I messaged the founder. I'm like, your product is not working. Like this does not look like me. And he said, I will work with you for hours until this looks like you. And he literally went through like 7 iterations with me until this thing spit out the perfect AI picture of me.
Because he was, I mean, obviously you have distribution, and he's like,
yeah, he's like, I want to win for this guy.
This is a whale. I want to get a win for Clifton.
Yeah.
But dude, I would say yours looks good. Yours looks really good.
It's they both look good. The green color is like I have so many things in that green color, man. And then even the logo. So the logo is really cool because my old logo stunk. Like this guy, poor guy, he made me like a free logo, and it was like an L and a B. It kind of looked like a Luigi hat. And they went through this, and like this logo has like this amazing story of like, it's like a sequoia tree, and it's like growing and growing. It does look like a tree, growing your content. The L's kind of fit in there, catty corner at the far left. And
yeah, it's a great
story. That logo, man, like the enterprise value of our business went up just from the logo, right? And people say that stuff doesn't matter, but it really does matter.
Of course it matters. It all matters. It all matters.
Yeah.
So like, I love this idea that you talk about, though, is like reaching out to people who are a couple steps ahead of you. I think sometimes people are insecure or nervous or like, well, I don't really know what to say. How do you do it? I think it's a superpower. I'm similar to you, where I'm like, I'll reach out to anybody and ask them a question. Yeah. But lots of people aren't that way. How do you think about when you reach out to people, positioning your ask?
I think it's twofold. First, you have to be a person that people want to help. I'm a kind person by nature. I'm a connector by nature, right? Like, If you call me and you're like, I'm having this problem, I probably have like 3 people to connect you with. When I reach out to people, I'm very vulnerable, man. I'm like, hey, I'm mad right now, or I'm frustrated because I'm stuck at a 1.5 million run rate, and I know you're at a 10 million run rate, and you were probably just as frustrated as me when you were at a 1.5 million run rate. And I offer to pay them. I'm like, can I pay you for 30 minutes to an hour of your time just to tell you what I'm doing and see if I can get any level of unstuck from where I'm at right now? And most of the time they're like, bro, you don't have to pay me. Or like,
Yeah,
I
most of the
got
people are
time.
cool.
Yeah, and then sometimes they say like, "Yeah, here's my meetup link," or whatever, right? And I pay people. I pay coaches. I have a professionalization budget. I spend like 10% of our income on people to help me scale faster.
That's super interesting. When did you start doing that?
Day one.
What does that mean, day one? Like when you
And
got
when I
married, day
started
one?
making money, it was actually higher when I first started. I reinvested most of my first 2 years of income back into people to tell me how to make more income.
Dude, this is fascinating because I used to think that like coaches, consultants, less consultants, but coaches in particular were like, scam. What do I need a coach for?
Yeah.
I don't feel that way anymore.
That's good.
I don't feel that way anymore. But it was hard for me to kind of get over. Honestly, it's still hard for my wife. She'll be like, wait, why did we pay this guy 10 grand? I'm like, oh, you have no idea. He helped me unlock it. And she's like, isn't that obvious? Anyways, have you always been that way where you're like, yeah, I'll spend money on paying someone to help me get to where I need to be? Or was that a shift in your mind that you had to make?
It was a shift because I was scared to spend money for most of my life, When you grow up the way
That's
I
true.
did and like everybody's a scam, everybody's trying to rip you off, watch your back, save your money. But there was an unlock. I had to go through some mental coaching, which is funny, right? Like I paid coaching to get over my money problem. I mean, I did. I mean, like I had past trauma around money and I
that
noticed
was
it.
either the best salesman of all time or you were incredibly self-aware. That's
Well, we
hilarious,
all
dude.
have a rock bottom with every problem we have. It
Yeah.
just takes some people are more stubborn than others, right? And so I think it was the first time I handed somebody money and it was like 2 grand, which to me is like 200 grand now, right? Like at that point, it's like, here's 2 grand. And a month later, I was making 10 grand. And I was like, okay, here's 10 grand. Oh, a month later, I'm making 30 grand. Okay. And this is the problem with coaches and all this stuff, right? And the framing around it. First of all, they're not going to save you. Your best bet with coaches is you were going to win anyway. They're just going to help you win faster. Everybody I hand money, I tell them, I'm like, I was going to do this anyway. I'm handing you this money because I want to do it faster. That's it. And so that's why a lot of the coaching industry has such a bad rap, because if you weren't going to win anyway, 9 times out of 10, a coach probably isn't going to fix that. You have to have that innate ability in you.
I really agree with you. I don't know what it is, but there comes a certain point where you realize that, oh, coaching is the unlock. And then you
Yeah.
start seeing it everywhere.
Exactly.
Tom Brady, the TB12 method, there's a dude he had that was his coach that figured out that method. Tiger Woods has always had a mental coach. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, any of these, like Kobe Bryant, dude, any of these top tier athletes have had not just coaches on the X's and O's, like here's how to play basketball, but like mental coaches, strength and conditioning coaches, specific coach. Like I can't remember who the athlete was. You might know this was a basketball story where this guy was having a hard time figuring out how to shoot. And so he went and got not somebody who knows how to shoot. He went and got some like a psychotherapist to help him get over whatever the hump was that he was working on. And he did. And, he exploded the next season. I can't remember who it was, but
Well, that's it, man. It's most of your problems, you know what to do. There's probably something inside of you keeping you from doing it. I mean, my past trauma around money was keeping me under $1 million in revenue because I was scared to hire people. And I was scared to hire people because I was scared to waste money.
say more about that. I'm curious. So you were stuck under $1 million because what does that mean? You were scared to hire people?
I was doing everything myself, right? So I was writing the tweets, I was publishing the content, I was doing all this stuff. I had never run a business before. And everybody's
For
like,
your
well,
clients, your
for my
ghostwriting, you were doing all that stuff.
all that stuff. Yeah. I've held every position in our company.
So you got to a point where you were doing it. Why were you holding on to it? What was it that?
I was scared of, is it going to work? Is this a flash in the pan business? In a couple of years, am I going to get replaced? Like, there was all these like unknown unknowns, right? And I paid coaches to basically, first of all, I just had PTSD around money and trauma, and I had to get over that. Then I had to get over the fact that I can't control any of this. I can't control. I mean, AI could kill us all tomorrow. I mean, I don't know, like I can't control that. Sam's over there. Sam Altman's over there, like planning world destruction, and AGI is going to like take our homes by December 2025. Like, I don't know. Like, there's all these unknown unknowns, but eventually I woke up and I said, there's people out there. Everybody's running a business. There's people, my background's in fundraising. I met with people every day that made millions of dollars running a business and exited, or were still running a business. And it kind of went into that, why not? If they can do it, I can do it. Why not me? What am I doing? Like, you're competent, you're driven. And I kind of just had to get out of my own way and saying, like, if you allow yourself to sit in these are all the ways that society can kill what I'm building, you are not going to build anything of significance.
Let me ask you a question. I've had the same exact issue. So, I mean, I'm one of 9 kids. I grew up exceptionally poor. I've gotten over it in some businesses, but like even today,
Right.
I have a hard time making the investment because it is an investment, right? Like, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. If I put the $10 in, I'm going to get the $20 back.
Right.
Because I'm always worried, well, is the demand really there? Is the demand really there for, whatever that you're selling? How did you get over that? Like, did you know the demand was there, or was it truly like, no, I was just afraid to spend money, period, and I had to get over it?
I think it was both. The money thing is the money thing. Early on in my career, I was told to niche down. I was told to like only be a content agency for SaaS companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought intuitively, I thought that was the dumbest thing ever. I was like, if your process is good enough from a content standpoint, you should be able to write for anybody that fits certain criteria from a money standpoint, from a time standpoint, and from a, can they get benefit from it? So I didn't niche down. Now it's funny. Now I'm like, oh, we need to niche down a little bit. Like, now we're at a point where we're safe. But when you're scaling, you need the biggest total addressable market as possible.
You just need revenue.
And you just need revenue, and
Right.
you just need a runway, and you don't need to act like you're a $10 million business when you got $5,000 in your business bank account and an Amex card and a prayer, like, so I just kept it wide. I knew there was demand. I knew that because I had benefited from it. Like, I still say that today. Like, I get on sales call. They're like, how do you know this works? And I raise my hand. I built a multi-million-dollar business on the back of personal branding and organic content flowing into for lead generation. I mean, I know it works.
So for you, it was like, I know it works. You didn't necessarily have a pipeline of people that you couldn't get to. It was the unlock of like if I bring somebody on to do the execution,
Yep.
It'll free me up to do what I'm best at,
Yep.
which is sales. Go out.
Zone of genius. Zone of genius. That Brett Eric looked at me a year ago and he said, my goal in 3 months is for you to not be in clients' accounts anymore. And I said, oh man, that would stress me out. He was like, I don't think it will. He's like, well, let me try. And he did it. And our clients are better for it. They're better for it. They get a way better experience when our team is pouring over their content and their strategy. And then I come in for like higher level strategy or execution, or I can actually like work with the clients on some mental blockers that content's creating for them. And I can sell and I can do podcasts like this. And Brett is a way better operator than I am. Like, he was put on this planet to be an operator. I was put on this planet to vision cast, sell, all this stuff. So like, the greatest reason that we've scaled to our point is we got people that were very competent and put them and incentivize them in a way to where they would have massive upside and they actually enjoyed coming to work every day.
Many things in life are a flywheel, both positive and negative. Like,
yeah,
if I make a bad hire, and it, it doesn't work out, that reinforces oh, I shouldn't have made that hire. That was stupid. And if I make a good hire and I did all the things necessary for it to be successful, then success begets success, and I hire more people and I'm more confident, right? Like both of those kind of compound on themselves. What did you do right in order to free yourself up from all of the delivery and hire that person?
Bad hires.
Well, I'm just saying there's a lot of entrepreneurs who are listening right now. Like they're not running
Yeah.
content agencies, but they're in that same spot, right? They're like,
Yeah.
well, I'm doing all the fulfillment. I'm the pressure washing guy for my pressure washing company, or I'm the digital agency guy for my digital agency, whatever. They need to know, how do they make that first hire and make sure that it's successful, not unsuccessful. And then they're always stuck at the ceiling.
Sales was always the last thing I was ever going to delegate. I'm about a year out from that. I think people try to delegate what they're good at too soon. So you almost have to sit down and take inventory and you say, okay, what are things that I'm doing just because they have to be done? And what are things that I do that I'm enjoying it and it's helping me grow my business? And I kind of went through that inventory and I realized like I'm not an operations guy. When I'm in spreadsheets or in Notion or like tracking things, like I get really bored really easily. And
How did you realize that? Were you coached to that? Was it like, hey, Clifton, sit down and write all of your tasks, and then
I tracked it by hour. I had an Excel spreadsheet up, and it's like, do everything, like write down everything you do. Okay. And I wrote down everything I do. And then they're like, okay, what do you not want to do? Like, what did you hate doing? And I was like, I hated doing all of these things. And they're like, well, you should hire somebody to do that.
Dude, that was the best. When I hired a coach, I was the same as you. I was
so
like,
simple.
$3,000. Here's $3,000. And I was like, I had enough money for it, but it still felt like $300,000 at the time. And that one exercise alone, write out everything you do. Do you enjoy it? Do you not? Is it your zone of genius? Is it not? Are you in flow? Are you not? Right. And once you're looking at it on paper and you're like, it's like, I'm an idiot. How did I not realize this sooner? Almost, but you need that person externally to at least like guide you through the process of it. And that's why I like was trying to drill into the specifics, because I think that exercise is so important, man.
There's a step though, Nick, that a lot of people miss. It's like, it's not enough to hand off things you hate. You have to hand them off to people that love them. And so, and then you have to hand them off so they understand what winning looks like. Because we hold so much knowledge in ourselves as solo operators of a business. When you hand things off without what does winning look like, what does success look like, what does done look like, that's when you make bad hires. And I've slowed down in how I hire people. Two things. One is what I just kind of detailed is like, I need to understand how this is done. What does winning look like before I hire a person? Another thing that really lifted my business is over a year ago, we went through a core value exercise. I did this by myself. I bought a book. It's like a pink book. I think I have it over there, but it was like the core value equation or something. And so I'm reading it and it's like, and it's so simple, but it's like so many people try to hire people based on competency and then fit them into their core values.
100%.
Okay. That's not right. You should hire people that match your core values and are competent, and then they're actually going to fit in. Because like our number one core value is unreasonable hospitality. Okay. And I'll tell you a story real quick. I had this guy early on work with me, and every time a client made a request that was, you could do in a minute, like, or 20 minutes, and it was reasonable. Maybe it didn't fit the scope of work. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Because I want them to feel like we're serving them. Well, it's not in our scope of work. It's not this, like we're doing too much. Like there was always this tension between us. Then I met Brett, and Brett and I, without even having core values, had the same core values, right? We didn't even have them written down at the time. We just matched really well as partners. And then when we were working on our core values together, it was like, hey, unreasonable hospitality. It doesn't mean getting ran over, but it means how do we create special moments in a client journey? Another one of our core values is say the thing. I hate working at companies that are where I hate working at companies in general, but period, full stop. But I also hate where there's passive aggressiveness, where you go into Jenny's office in accounting and she's talking about Sally over in sales, and there's all this like, we just say the thing. And that's internally and externally. If we think a client is wrong, we're not mean or demonstrative, but we're like, hey, we need to tell you this. Like, we need to say this thing to you. When I'm mad at an employee's performance, I'd call them and I said, hey, this is going to be a pretty frank conversation. I want you to win and you need to know how I feel. And I'm going to tell you how I feel. And it's just relentless execution. If people don't like to work, they should not work at Legacy Builder. They shouldn't. They're going to be miserable because we work. We like to work.
Well, dude, one of the things I think that you said that resonates with me is you set up a filtering mechanism. And sometimes people will listen to this stuff and be like, oh, it must be nice to sit around and faff about and decide what's our core values? But the truth is, if you want to scale, you have to hire people. And if you want to hire people at scale, you have to have a filtering mechanism. And if you want to have a filtering mechanism, you have to have very clear core values and shared values amongst the team. I know that it's hard for many people, but it's one of my favorite exercises to do with the company. Because when you're getting to that point, it's like, oh, this is exciting. There's something here. There's mojo. Cool. Let's formalize this. I'll bring teams together. And again, this is my favorite exercise. I'll be like, all right, write down the names of 3 people that if you could choose, they don't have to be in the company. They could be anywhere, but in the company is preferable. That if you teamed up with them, you could take over any industry. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So they write down those names. All right. Now write down what attributes about them you like. Oh, that's interesting. And so they'll write down the attributes that they like. Cool. Now let's write all those attributes up around the wall. And so everybody's writing up their attributes around the wall. And pretty quickly we start to see where the commonality and the overlap is. It's like, oh, whoa, say what you mean. Well, like 3 different people have said that 5 times. You know what I mean? There's something there. I don't know what it is yet, but there's something there. And then you start sort of massaging this with your team that you've been building along the way. I think formalizing, codifying your core values is an underrated exercise that most businesses don't put enough emphasis on.
I had a client that has scaled multiple companies, sold multiple companies. And he said and it goes to your audience of under 1 million. Every company goes through a professionalization of services, like a professionalization period. And that's when you like all the stuff you've been putting off, like standard operating procedures, databases, CRM, core values, hiring practices, legal.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even talk about legal enough, like when I was gunslinging out there in 2022 and 2023, I didn't think I was going to get sued, and I have been sued, but now I'm like, oh man, yeah, I need to knock on wood.
I'm knocking on kinds of wood.
It'd be okay. I'll figure it out. But like, what are our blind spots? How do we protect ourselves? Do we have insurance? Do we have terms of service? Do we have agreements? There's all these things that like, you just don't know as a first-time entrepreneur. And you can either do it now or you can learn the lesson the hard way when you're in the middle of a firefight. So there's a lot, man. There's a lot.
But when you're gunslinging, all that stuff doesn't really matter. Like when you're under $1 million, you're just like trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Once there's like a real business, once it's like, oh, there's some real value here, then it becomes incredibly important. Just because it didn't matter before doesn't mean it's not going to ever matter. And that's where I see a lot of people make mistakes is like, they never professionalize. And so they always get capped at that level that they were. If you want to get to the next level, you've got to professionalize, systematize whatever has gotten you to this point. Because otherwise you're not going to continue to grow. Dude, this was amazing. All right. Legacybuilder.co. We didn't even get to talk about your cool SaaS product that you have for LinkedIn, but where's the best place for people to come reach you?
Yeah. So I'm Clifton Sellers on Twitter and LinkedIn. I have a newsletter that we can attach to this that people can follow me. Control Alt Create. Just went through a rebrand there. I like those. My Instagram account's gone right now. They don't like me for some reason. I don't know what happened there. It tells me to put in a code, but they won't text me the code. I don't know, man. It's
something's going on.
But you follow me on those socials. Follow me on my newsletter. Our SaaS is engagenow.co. It's a automated organic engagement tool that matches you with other founders and people building a business in the B2B space. And you just exchange comments with each other on LinkedIn. And it's powerful tool for expanding your reach and expanding pipeline opportunity. That came on the back of people needing more engagement. I mean, it's just, we're
Yeah.
going to roll it out on X and some other platforms as well. If you Google Clifton Sellers right now, all those things I just mentioned are going to pop up. So,
Dude, thank you. Thank you for taking time. This was awesome. I hope people come reach out to you, and we'll talk again soon.
that's awesome, Nick. Thank you so much, man.
All right. Hopefully you liked that episode. And if you've made it this far, you're either really committed or you're stuck doing yard work and you can't actually skip on your phone. So while I have you, the show is growing, but I have a favor to ask of you. Will you please help me grow the show? I want to reach more people. There's a couple things that you can do. Like and subscribe is the simplest thing. Obviously, you want to get notifications for when the next episode is coming out. But if you go the next step, will you leave me a review? 5-star on Spotify or Apple. What that does is it tells the algorithm that, oh, hey, this is a high value podcast because more people are leaving reviews for it, and it then pushes it out to more people. So that's why when people are like, will you like and subscribe and put a 5-star rating? It's not just to make themselves feel better. It's actually to get more exposure for the show. So if you do that for me, I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you next time.